Today, we're diving into a question that I think costs businesses and people millions, maybe even billions of dollars every year. Why is it that we can learn all these amazing ideas, but so often nothing actually changes? We're going to talk all about that frustrating gap between knowing something and actually doing it. And I promise by the end of this, you'll have a super clear way to finally bridge it. So, does this sound familiar to you? You finish a mind-blowing book, or you leave a seminar just buzzing with incredible game-changing ideas, and then a few weeks go by and nothing. Nothing has actually changed. Your bookshelf is packed, but your results look exactly the same. Well, here's the good news. You're not failing. This is a system problem, not a you problem. And today, we're going to tear down exactly why it happens and, more importantly, how to fix it for good.
You know, this whole thing actually has a name. It's called the knowing-doing gap. And it's that space, that canyon between our best intentions and what we actually do day to day. It's the reason New Year's resolutions fizzle out and why brilliant business strategies just die on the whiteboard. Really understanding this gap is the absolute first step to finally closing it.
Now, this slide right here really gets to the core of the problem. See, knowing feels great. It's easy, it's kind of passive, and it gives our brain a little hit of dopamine. We feel smarter just by reading something new. But doing? Well, that's the tough part. That takes real effort, it takes discipline, and it means we have to be committed to changing our behavior, not just adding another book to our shelf. And this quote from Phil Murray just nails it. Every single time we read another article or watch another video without a real plan to use it, we are actively training ourselves to be inactive. We're becoming experts at knowing, but amateurs at doing. So to break this cycle, we have to understand what's keeping us stuck in the first place.
So, what are these roadblocks? Well, the research points to 3 huge reasons that create and widen this knowing-doing gap. Let's break them down one by one.
Okay, reason number 1 is something we are all swimming in, or maybe drowning in, every single day: information overload. Think about it. We're always chasing the next new thing, the next book, the next podcast, the next hack. We've basically become knowledge junkies. And why? Well, because it's a lot easier and more comfortable to learn one more thing than it is to struggle with putting what we already know into practice. And the result is that classic paralysis by analysis. We get so overwhelmed with all the options that we don't choose any of them. We just freeze.
Now, the second reason is a little more personal. It's not about the information coming at us, it's about what we do with it inside our own heads. And this is called negative filtering.
And this chart just says it all, doesn't it? When we hear a new idea and our immediate reaction is cynical, or we instantly think of all the reasons it won't work, what the authors call stinkin' thinking, we basically put up a wall. We block about 90% of that idea's potential value from ever getting through. Our own mindset becomes the biggest filter. And that brings us to the third reason, which, honestly, might be the toughest one to beat, and that is a total lack of follow-up. You know, having a great idea or a good intention feels nice, but it's not a plan. Real, lasting change takes structure, it takes support, it takes accountability. Without some kind of system to practice these new behaviors, our old habits are always going to win. We just snap right back to our default settings. The key takeaway here is that nothing good ever happens by accident. You have to build it on purpose. Okay, so we've laid out the problem pretty clearly. Now let's get to the good stuff, the solution. The analysis here proposes a totally new way of thinking, a new paradigm built on 3 keys to finally start taking action. This slide is everything. The old way, the way that keeps us stuck, is all about grabbing more information, thinking negatively, and having zero plan. The new paradigm flips that completely on its head. It's about focusing on less information, but reviewing it more often. It's about developing a positive mindset on purpose, and it's about building a real system for follow-up. Let's see how that works.
The weapon we use to fight information overload is something called spaced repetition. Just think about how advertising works. A company doesn't show you a commercial one time and hope you remember it. No, they show it to you again and again and again until that jingle is stuck in your head. It's the same idea. We need to expose ourselves to the most important ideas over and over until they become second nature.
So, key number 1 is this. Stop trying to drink from a fire hose. Instead, adopt the less, more philosophy. Pick 1, maybe 2 key ideas and really commit to mastering them. It's better to read 1 great book 3 times than to read 3 books 1 time. True mastery comes from depth, not just breadth. All right, key number 2 is all about tearing down that negative filter we talked about. We have to consciously build a more positive, open mindset that actually lets new ideas in. But how do we do that? I mean, our brains are literally wired to resist new things.
Well, check this out. This shows the 6 stages our brains go through when we hear a new idea. The first time we hear it, our instinct is to reject it. The second time, we resist it. It literally takes hearing it multiple times to move from no way all the way to, okay, this is just how I do things now. This is exactly why that spaced repetition we just mentioned is so critical. It helps us overcome our own skepticism.
So here's a super practical tool you can use. It's called green light thinking. The next time you hear a new idea, your first job isn't to find the flaws. Your first job is to be its biggest champion. Force your brain to list all the ways it could work, all the potential upsides. Only after you've done that do you let yourself think about the cautions or the yellow lights. And that brings us to the third and, I would argue, the most important key of all. This is the engine that actually drives change. You have to build a system for follow-up. And here's a simple but crazy powerful coaching model for how to do that. Look, it's not enough for someone to just tell you what to do. You need them to show you how. Then you need a chance to try it yourself. Then they need to watch you. And finally, you get feedback, praise for what you did right, and a little redirection for what needs work. This is how you actually build a skill. All right, let's pull all these pieces together. Here is your game plan to finally make all that knowledge you have start working for you instead of just sitting on a shelf. Any plan that actually works is built on these 3 pillars. You need structure, things like a meeting on the calendar every 2 weeks. You need support, a coach, a boss, a mentor, even a friend who can guide you. And you need accountability, a clear way to measure if you're actually doing what you said you would. If you're missing any one of these 3, the plan will probably fall apart. So, when you boil it all down, it's this simple. The path from knowing to doing isn't some big secret, but it does take discipline. Number 1, focus on less stuff more often. Number 2, choose to have a positive, open mind. And number 3, build a real, non-negotiable system for follow-up. That's it. That's the formula. So let's end with a little challenge for you. What is the number 1 knowing-doing gap in your life right now? You know, that one thing you absolutely know would make a huge difference if you could just get yourself to do it consistently. Go ahead and share your gap in the comments. And hey, maybe even commit to one tiny step you can take this week to start closing it.